stopped here yesterday in our notes because it was going to get to actual computing with your calculator and such, and we were kind of already getting brain dead, so I wanted to stop here and start here today. So this is on page 6 in your packet, and we're going to be talking about how to actually compute the area in under the curve. Okay, so for example, you have this picture here. And suppose we want to go, you have a z-score, whatever that z-score is, and you want to compute this area to the left of that z-score. That means you're going to be going down to negative, down forever in that direction up to this z-score. Well, there is this feature called norm CDF, and this stands for norm, of course, meaning for the normal model. C is the cumulative area, so we're going to accumulate this area, and D is the distribution and frequencies. Okay, so how much data is in this normal distribution up to that point? All right. So if we have a problem like this, when you go, in fact, let's go find that button on our calculator and see what it looks like. So if you open up your calculator, it is under second vars. Okay, so it will be located under the button second vars. And you will see the second one, number 2. All right, so you're going to look, it's either going to be one of two things. It's either going to show up with just that blank like that, and it won't have a menu. How many of y'all's shows up that looks like that? Yes. How many of y'all's looks like that where it's just norm CDF with an open thing? Okay, so just a few of you guys. The rest of y'all have a menu that shows up. Pull that up so you know. Okay, so if you have a menu, there's some in that drawer. If you have a menu that shows up, that you have your stat wizard on. So let me put my stat wizard on real quick and show you that. It makes it so that there's a menu, and I'll show you that. So if I go to second vars, then you come up with this. It didn't do it. Who? Yeah, it's on. There it is. Okay. So you either have this menu right here that shows up, okay, or you have the other thing that's just parentheses, okay. So the other thing that shows up looks like this: norm CDF, and then you have an open parentheses. So you have one of these two situations. Well, the first number that you need to put in is the lower z-score. Okay, so if in this case our low value is going out to negative infinity, we're going to use a z-score of negative 99 to simulate negative infinity. Okay, so if that's our first number, then we would put, you would put negative 99 right here for your lower value. And then you would go up to that z-score. And so that would give you all of this blue area down to negative infinity. You put whatever that z-score is there. And in your one that doesn't have a menu, it would go negative 99, comma, then you put the z-score in, and then you would calculate that. All right? Always leave this mean as 0 and this standard deviation as 1. So if you have the menu, always leave this mean as 0 and this standard deviation is 1. Okay? Let's practice one of those. On the next page, wait, maybe it's at the bottom of that page. Wow, how did that go away? Oh, I think it's right here. Okay, so I believe it's
So with the one with the menu, we have to actually manually type in and not.
yes. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, so here, let's try one of these ones on the example 3 on the next page. Okay, do you see this one that says, find the area to the left of this z-score 1.6? So what that picture looks like is you have a z-score of 1.6 and you are going to the left. So you're going to be going down to negative infinity. Okay, so that means in your calculator, you're going to be putting in norm CDF, and what is the lower bound that you're going to be putting in? Yes, the lower bound always goes in first. Low bound is negative 99. And then what's the upper bound on this problem? 1.6. So you type that into your calculator. Yes. The comma is above the 7. If you have the menu, you're putting it in. You're leaving the mean as 0 and standard deviation is 1. You're pasting it. And so this is 0.94, did it say 52? Okay, that means I'm going to have you turn these into percentages because that puts it into like making sense stuff, real world things. This means this is 94.5%. This is 94.52% of the data. So 94.5% of the data is 94.52% of the data is below that point. Okay? Let's try one more. You guys try this one. Area to the left of a z-score of 2.3. So compute that one. So I got a z-score all the way up here at 2.3. I want to see how much is to the left of it. Yes, and then you change it into a percent. Do 4 decimal places and then change it into a percent. So I got that is 0.9893. So that is 98.93% of the data is below that point. So this shaded amount is 98.93% of all the data. I rounded 3. Oh, but we're going to keep the decimal. Nope, we're going to keep that to 2 decimal places. Keep that to 2 decimal places. Okay. You want to try one more? The next one, area to the left of this z-score, negative 0.45. Yes, negative 99 is still the lower because you're going to the left of that value. So negative 99 is still the lower. 0.3264. So that is how much information? 32.46% of the data. And so we're going to talk about these. So let's put these numbers in, and then I want to give you a visual idea of what's happening. Okay. Okay, so those are your percentages. All right, so here's the thing I want to talk to you about real quick. Do you see how these ones that have a positive z-score up here at 1.6 and at 2.3 have a lot more area below them? Why do you think that is? Closer to the top, good. And they have more than 50%, of course, because they are above the mean. If you were smack dab at the mean, you would have 50% below you. Okay. But do you notice this one? Negative. Do you see it's a negative z-score? What side of the mean is that on? Yes, if it has a negative z-score, you are on the left side of the mean. So we have less than 50% below us because we are below the mean. And that's, makes sense then that we have 32.64%. Okay, very good. Moving on. So the next part is this area um, to the right. So the area above a particular z-score. So when that happens, the z-score is the lower bound. When this happens, when you want the area above a particular point, the z-score is the lower bound, and then you're going up to positive infinity. So what number do you think we're going to use to represent positive infinity? 99. Good. All right, so that 99 is simulating the positive infinity. All right, so let's take a look at what that would look then on some of these problems here. Where's our first problem that's that? E. Okay, E says area to the right of 1.3. So before you do this in your calculator, I want to know, do you think how much area do you think this is? More or less than 50%? Your 1.3 is above the mean, and then you're going everything above that. So do you think that's going to be more or less than half? Less. Because if you were here at the mean, then that would be half. But you're above the mean. Okay, so let's put this into our calculator. Norm CDF from 1.3 to 99. See, 1.3 is the lower bound. So if you have a menu calculator, then yours looks like this. 1.3 is the lower value, and 99 is the upper value. 99 is the upper value. Keeping 0 and 1. Okay, and then you're pasting that. And so how much percent is 0.0968? Yes, that is right, 9.68%. So that was a very small amount above that point. All right. You always have to go, when you put your numbers in, okay, listen up. When you put your numbers in, the lower value has to go first, regardless of what it is. So if it's the z-score, that's the lower value. It goes first, and then positive infinity would go second. You always have to go from the low score to the high score. Low z to high z. All right, do the next two, and let's check and see how you did. So go ahead and check yourself on those. I got 93.31% on F. Oh, did I not round? Okay, gotcha. And then on G, 1.79%. Okay. All right, now the last type that we are going to have is when you are between two z-scores. So you're not going to infinity in either direction. You're going from a low z-score up to a high z-score. Well, you just put those two z-scores as your bounds, the low z-score to the high z-score. Okay, so that would find you that area in between those two z-scores. See, we're not going out to infinity. We're just going right between those two. So the first one does that. Try the area between a z-score of 0. Where is a z-score of 0? The mean. The mean is a z-score of 0. And then we go up to 1.3, and we are wanting the area in between those two. So we're going to be putting norm CDF. The low z-score is 0. The high z-score is 1.3. Okay? And so that is 0.4032. So that's 40.32% of the data is in between that. Yeah, I was doing A. And is there some more of those? Okay. So go ahead and start. Let me give you some time to do H through K, and then I'll check back with you, see if you got those right. Okay, so let's look at this second one real quick because it had two different sections. You had a section to the left of negative 1.2. So you had to norm CDF from negative 99 as your lower bound up to negative 1.2 as the upper bound. So this section, area to the left, is 0.1150. Okay, so that's one section. The area to the left is 1.1150. Then, separately, I did the area to the right of 1.6. So I took norm CDF from 1.6 up to positive 99, and that area is 0.0, to the right of that is 0.0548. And then I'm going to add those two together. Okay, just a second. When I add those two together, I'm getting,
Oh, let's add them.
yes.
Can we add the percent? Oh, no. Can we add the percent?
You can add the percents, or you can add the decimals.
So then why didn't you
Okay?
add it on A?
I know, brilliant. Okay, so I'm loving that idea. Listen up. Here's another option. You can either add the two areas separately, or you could do the norm CDF from negative 1.2 up to 1.6 and get that number. And that's the part that you don't want. So you can do 100 minus whatever that percent was, which was 83.02. Okay. Well, whatever. On mine, it would have been 02. So you could have done 100 and take away this middle section, and that would leave you with the ends left. Okay? So you have two ways in which you could figure that out, and whichever way you do is fine. All right, so finish up the rest of those, and we'll see how you do. Okay, so there are your answers right there that you could check for J and K. And so now that we have done that, I'm going to have you work on the next part of your assignment, which is pages 8 through 10. Okay, so it's basically practicing what we just did in a couple different formats. They might look a little different. So you're going to work on 8 through 10. I'm going to walk around and make sure you guys are good to go. So that's your assignment today.